Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Pangam karoti vachanam, pangam langyate girim, yatkrpatamaham vande, Sri Gurudena Taranam Paramanandam. Hare Krishna, thank you again for joining. Good to see you, Paramatma Prabhu, after a while. Happy to have your association again. So we will. So last time we had finished the 12th chapter of the 6th canto, which was the glorious death of Vritrasur, and in that was also the qualities and his preaching and his mood. So it was a very deep chapter with lot of things that we could relate to. How Vritrasur externally was bound by the modes and internally was bound by his bhakti, right? And we were discussing how we also have, to some extent, the same tension, that we are also externally bound by the modes, and internally we are bound by the strong desire to progress in our devotional service, to serve Guru, Krishna, and Vaishnavas. And we see that how Vritrasur ultimately he was able to bridge that gap. So in a way, the Vritrasur's pastime is very, very important for practicing devotees, because we also have the same challenges to a lesser extent, but definitely the same challenges that Vritrasur had. So today we'll start with the 13th chapter.
Prabhu, 1 second. Am I seeing wrong? We completed 11th chapter. Vritrasur's.
We completed 11th chapter.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. My mistake. So, okay. So, you're positive about it, Prabhu, right? You keep track of it much better than I do.
Yeah.
So start with the 12th chapter today.
Yeah, we should start 12th chapter again.
12th chapter. Okay. So the 12th chapter is Vritrasur's glorious death. And I was mentioning it's a relatively short chapter, 35 verses, but a lot of deep realizations in it. Okay, so first verse. Sri Ruchiruvacha Evam Jihasur Nrpadehamajo Mrityum Varam Vijayan Manayamanaha Shulam Parghayabhyat Patat Surendram Yatha Mahapurusham Kaitabo Pasu. Sukdev Goswami said, desiring to give up his body, Vritrasur considered death in the battle preferable to victory. O King Parikshit, he vigorously took up his trident and with great force attacked Lord Indra, the king of heaven, just as Kaitab had forcefully attacked the Supreme Personality of Godhead when the universe was inundated. So 6 verses talk about the battle between Vritrasur and Indra, right? So in the 12th chapter, we had seen that how Indra, he was discouraged by the immense power of Vritrasur. And even though he has the Vajra in his hand, he's afraid to use it because he does not have enough faith in it. He has more faith in his own mace, which Vritrasur has already defeated, and actually he has more faith in the prowess of Vritrasur. And so we had this discussion how the Vajra was a symbol of Krishna's mercy. And Jivas, they may be holding the mercy close to their heart, but they have less faith in it than the modes of material nature or than their own ability. So seeing this, Vritrasur had enlightened Indra. But he has spoken about, given him transcendental uh, knowledge, right? So Prabhupada in the purport says that that although Vritrasur repeatedly encouraged Indra to kill him with a thunderbolt, King Indra was morose at having to kill such a great devotee. And the Prabhupada adds another angle to it, that after hearing the deep realizations of Vritrasur, when he was encouraging Indra to kill him, Indra realizes that this was not an ordinary personality. I mean, he always knew it was not an ordinary personality, but now he knows that this is a great devotee. And Indra himself, being a devotee, he was reluctant to kill another devotee. Sukdev Goswami also gives the analogy of how Vritrasur attacks Kritra, just as Ketab had forcefully attacked the personality of Godhead. So this pastime appears in the Devi Bhagavatam. It's also mentioned in the Vishnu Purana and Mahabharata. And there were two demons by the name of Madhu and Ketab. So said that they were born from the earwax of Lord Vishnu, or in some Puranas it said they were born from the mind of Lord Vishnu when he was in yoga nidra. Right. In other accounts, it is said they represent the rajasic and tamasic aspects of the material creation. So Madhu represents tamas, which is ignorance and inertia, and Keta represents rajas, which is strong desires, fruitive activity. So together they symbolize the forces that disturb the cosmic order. So the pastime goes like when Lord Vishnu was in Yoga Nidra, and this is at the beginning of the creation. So at that time, Madhu and Keta, they stole the Vedas from Lord Brahma and hid them in the depths of the Garbhodaksha ocean. So seeing the Vedas in the hand of the Asuras and having lost it himself, Brahma prays to Mahamaya, the form of Lord Durga, to awaken Lord Vishnu from his yoga nidra. So once he was awakened, then Lord Vishnu fought with these two demons for over 5,000 years. And neither could win. Because in a way, Madhu and Ketab, they were an expansion of the Lord himself. Right? So neither could win. And then eventually, due to their ignorance, the demons told Lord Vishnu that we are very happy with you. So we would like to offer you a boon. So Lord Vishnu, he cleverly asked them to choose a place and moment of their death. Right? So now that they were caught in their own pride, that they had promised to give the benediction, but the demons also being clever, so they said that they could only be killed at the place where there was no water. Right. So since this was the time of before the creation began, there was only water in the universe. So essentially they thought there's only water, so there's no place for us to kill. So Lord Vishnu then placed them on their laps, and he cut off their head by Sudarshan Chakra. And so that's the pastime of Madhuketa, which Sukadeva Goswami mentions in this verse. Okay, verse 2. Tato yugantagne kathor jivam avidyashulam tarasa surendra Shiptva Mahendraya Vinadya Viro Ato Sipapeti Rusha Jagada. Then Vritrasur, the great hero of the demons, whirled his trident, which had points like the flames of the blazing fire at the end of the millennium. With great force and anger, he threw it at Indra, roaring and exclaiming loudly, O sinful one, thus shall I kill you. So we see that Vritrasur is giving an important lesson about the mentality of advanced devotees, that they are Vyavasatmika buddhir, ek hai Guru Nandana, 241. So Vritrasur had only one focus, to serve the Lord. And in order to continue his service, he wanted to return back to the spiritual world. Now he sees Indra as a Vyavasatmika, because Indra, he is attached to his material opulence. So he has this material attraction. He is also attached to the spiritual advancement in Vritrasur. He is hesitating to kill him, seeing a devotee in him. Right? So he sees Indra as wavering. Like many times, the practicing devotees have that same challenge. Right? Sometimes they say that Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur gives this example of Anishta Bhakti. That one day the devotee will say that from tomorrow onwards, I will get up at 2 a.m. in the morning. I will chant 16 rounds. I will do parikrama. I will do this. So they'll make all these very, very lofty sankalpas. And then few days later on, they're tired. They will not be able to get up in the morning, or something else comes up and the mind goes over there. And then again, it will go back, right? So that's the Avyasatmika buddhi. But one of the index of advancement for a devotee is how unwavering is the focus on your ultimate goal. Okay. So we see that Jad Bharat, his father, he instructed him on various aspects of the Brahmanical Dharma from the Vedas. But Jad Bharat had no interest in it. Similarly, we see that when Hanuman left across the ocean, then Mount Manak offered him momentary rest. But Hanuman, no interest, he declined. Later on, Shurasa opened her mouth to swallow Hanuman. And there was a competition between the two. Shurasa was opening her mouth wider, Hanuman was becoming wider. But Hanuman was not interested in any competition. And he wasn't making this an ego clash, that I can be bigger than your mouth. So he becomes very small, enters the mouth and comes out of it. Right? So Hanuman basically said, you win, I lose. But his goal was to jump across the ocean and reach Lanka to find Sita Devi. So there he was unwavering. Similarly, there was a time when Sanatana Goswami, he was challenged by a Digvijay Pandit to a debate. And Sanatana Goswami was completely focused in the instructions of Mahaprabhu to serve the deities, establish temples, write literature, etc. He didn't want to waste his time in all this debate. So he said, okay, you give me the Panchama, I'll sign saying that I lost, and then I can continue with my service. So this is the mood of advanced devotees, where everything that they do is united by this singular focus in their service. And for those who are not advanced, then there is always this mind that is creeping in 100 directions. Verse 3. Vichaladgraholkvan niriksha dushpreksham ajata viklavah vajrena vajri shatapravan pravanachana bhujam chatasyo ragaraj bhogam. Flying in the sky, Vritrasura's trident resembled a brilliant meteor. Although the blazing weapon was difficult to look upon, King Indra, unafraid, cut it to pieces with his thunderbolt. Simultaneously, he cut off one of Vritrasura's arm, which was as thick as the body of Vasuki, the king of serpents. So now we see that Indra is beginning to use the Vajra. Earlier on, he was reluctant to do it. So because of all the preaching that Vritrasur did to him about the glories of Lord Vishnu, about how Lord Vishnu is infallible, etc., Indra, he has now developed faith in the weapon that he had always been holding in his hand. Right. Similarly, by the influence of Mahabhagavatams, by the influence of devotees, uh, jivas. So bhakti is latent in every jiva's heart. Right. Just like the Vajra is there in Indra's arm. So bhakti is there in everybody's heart, but they're reluctant to take shelter of it because they don't have experience with it, at least in the material world. They have more experience in manipulating the modes, which is what Indra was doing so far. But when Vikrasur preached to him, then he develops faith in the Vajra. Just like when advanced devotees, they preach, and then practicing devotees, they develop faith in the bhakti in their own heart. Verse 4. Chinekabahu parihena vritraha sambrabda sadhya grihita vajram anau tadandrem athamarevaham vajram chahasta niyapatan magunaha. Although one of his arms was severed from his body, Vritrasur angrily approached King Indra and struck him on the jaw with an iron mace. He also struck the elephant that carried Indra. Thus, Indra dropped the thunderbolt from his hand. So, Indra's mistake is thinking that the thunderbolt that he has in his hand is his own weapon. That the fact that the thunderbolt cut Vritrasur's arm is a reflection on the prowess of Indra. So Indra at this point was thinking, look at how powerful I am, how expertly I have wielded this Vajra, that I have cut this mighty arm of Vritrasur. Now Vritrasur is looking upon the Vajra as the desire of Lord Vishnu. So he has actually no fear of Vajra because for him it's an extension of the Lord. Right? So actually, Vatrasur had the vision of the Mahabhagavat. He looked upon Indra, he looked upon Vajra, he looked upon his own trident, and he looked upon his own inevitable death, all as the will of the Lord. So even the anger of Vritrasur, so here it is said, Vritrasur angrily approached Indra. Right? So even the anger is being employed in the service of the Lord. So inspired by his trident, his anger, Indra, the devotee of the Lord, will use the symbol of the Lord to fulfill the desire of the Lord. Right? So we see how in the vision of Vritrasur, everything is part and parcel of the devotional service to the Lord. Right? So what are the things in play over here? There is Indra, and Vritrasur is looking upon him as the devotee of the Lord. Then there is the Vajra. So Vajra is the symbol of the Lord. Then there is Indra throwing the Vajra. That is the desire of the Lord. So Vritrasur understood that it was the desire of the Lord that he be killed. Right? So the symbol of the Lord, the desire of the Lord, the devotee of the Lord, they are all coming together in helping Vritrasur serve the Lord. That was the service that Vritrasur was focusing on in the battlefield. Now we see that even though the hand of Vritrasur was cut off, he was still able to make Indra drop his Vajra, right? So the devotee is in the service of the Lord able to execute even in the most adverse situations. Right. So earlier on, Indra and Vritarasura were fighting as peers. Right, and Indra was thinking he can defeat Vritarasura. Now Vritarasura is at a distinct disadvantage. He has lost his hands. One can imagine the amount of pain that he is in, and the fact that he doesn't have a hand to fight also. But he's still able to he's still able to defeat, even though it's temporarily, but he's still able to defeat Indra. So in the uh, uh, in the face of great adversity, the devotee is still able to accomplish great things because they are everything that they are doing is in the service of the Lord, and bhakti, if the Lord desires, can be glorious. Now look at Indra, that he lost his connection with the Vajra. Right? So when Vritrasur struck him with the iron mace, the Vajra fell from his hand. So in the face of adversity, a devotee who is still not perfect will lose their connection with bhakti. That is one of the distinguishing characteristics between an advanced and a not so advanced devotee. That if a devotee is not so advanced, if things, material things are happening their way, they will peacefully execute bhakti. But when things start becoming adverse, then the whole attention goes to the material situation. Or they might even blame the Lord, saying that I was worshipping you, you're not able to help me. So their connection with bhakti weakens. Just like Indra's connection with the Vajra weakened in the face of the onslaught from Vritrasura. Verse 5. Vritrasya karmati mahadbhutam tata sura surascharan siddha sangaha apujayam star puruhuta sankatam nirikshahaheti vichukrushur bhrisham. The denizens of various planets, like demons, like demigods, demons, charans, and siddhas, praised Vritrasura's deed. But when they observed that Indra was in great danger, they lamented, Alas, alas. So this we'll see later on also, that with the exception of a very few people, nobody knew the real position of Vritrasura. It said that even Brahma did not really know the position of Vritrasura. So this is so exalted, the nature of a devotee is, right. So here we see that the demigods and the demons and the charans and the siddhas, they're looking upon it as a joust in the battlefield, and they see Vritrasura's glorious deed. Hand is off, still is defeating Indra. And Indra is no ordinary personality. So they are praising his deed, but they also consider him to be an asura. So they have a lot of interest in making sure that Indra wins. So they are also lamenting with this turn of events. Verse 6. Indro navajram jagare vilachitas chutam swahastan arisane dayo punaha tamavritro haratavajro jahi swashatrum navishadakalaha. Having dropped the thunderbolt from his hand in the presence of his enemy, Indra was practically defeated and was very much ashamed. He dared not pick up his weapon again. Vritrasura, however, engaged him, saying, Take up your thunderbolt and kill your enemy. This is not the time to lament. your feet. Right? So we see that Vritrasur, earlier on, he had chastised Indra for not following the principles of dharma when they were attacking the fleeing asuras from behind. Right? He had chastised the asuras from leaving the battlefield, and he had chastised the devas also. Right? But he is not just words. We see that he is also acting according to his words. He had glorified the importance of following the principles of dharma, and one of the principles of dharma is that you should not attack an enemy who has lost his weapons or an enemy that is bewildered on the battlefield. So Vritrasur sees both of these happening in Indra, so he does not attack him. Now Indra was ashamed or embarrassed, right? So after having lost his Vajra, like I said, Indra no Vajram Jagre, Indra was thinking that I'm such a great warrior, famous in the three worlds. How terrible that I was defeated. So what is Indra thinking on? He is thinking on the platform of false ego. So sometimes when devotees see reversals in their bhakti, they give up their service. So externally they may say, I am detached, whatever it is, this and that. But when they see that bhakti is not giving them what they expect, sometimes devotees do service and they're criticized for it. Or sometimes they're not appreciated enough for it. Sometimes they don't even get the results. They're working on a project and the project does not fructify, right? So internally they are thinking, how terrible that my service is being marginalized. This is so insulting. So better for me to give up the service. So externally they will say that I'm detached from this service. But internally, actually, it is that they are super attached to the results of that service. And so we see Indra displaying that mood. He had been instructed by Lord Vishnu to go and fight on the battlefield. And Lord Vishnu has said, with my benediction, you will win. So Indra understands that he's standing in that battlefield as a service to Lord Vishnu. Vritrasur was never told by Lord. He is simply extrapolating from the Lord's instruction to Indra what his own service should be. Indra had said, Lord Vishnu had said to Indra, you go to the battlefield and kill Vritrasur. So Vritrasur from that extrapolated that my service to the Lord is that I be killed by Indra. And he's perfectly fixed in that service, but not Indra. When the Vajra fell from his hand, he started thinking about his own reputation. He started thinking that what will people posterity think about my greatness. So on a platform of false ego, he was saying, better for me to give up the service. Also, Vajra is the symbol of Lord Vishnu in the hand of Indra. As soon as it was dropped, the modes took over. So as long as the devotee is connected to the Lord, he is protected from the modes. When the connection is broken, then the modes immediately overpower the jiva. Right? So for a warrior on the battlefield, not fighting. So Indra is standing there, not fighting. So for a warrior, and this is what Krishna also preaches to Arjun. So it is a symptom of tamas guna, right? Symptom of a mode of ignorance. That even if you look at Kshatriya dharma, it says best is to fight and win, otherwise fight. And losing is also glorious, but Kshatriya should not fight. So as soon as the Vajra drops from Indra, he is overcome by the modes. Now Vritrasur is taking on the role of a preacher out of compassion to Indra. Right? So we see that same compassion like Krishna is preaching to uh, Arjun, right? He says he says to Arjun, Atma Vajraha. Vitrasur says to Vitrasur says to Indra, Atma Vajraha, that pick up your weapon, which essentially is Vitrasur telling to Indra, do your duty. You're a Kshatriya, your duty is to fight, so do your duty. Then he says, Vishad Kala, so no time for lamentation, which is the second point he's making is that you are lamenting because you're attached to the fruits of the activity. You're thinking that you have lost, so you're lamenting. So you're too much engrossed in victory and defeat. But act just for the sake of your duty with detachment. And then he says, Jahi Swa Shatra, that you kill your enemy. Right? And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, it means kill me, Asura, or kill your enemy in the form of this tamas guna of lamentation. So we see how the Bhagavad Gita is encapsulated in this instructions. If you see what Krishna tells to Arjuna, first he says, do your duty. And Vitrasur says, Atvajra, pick up your weapon and do your duty. Then he says, Vishad Kala, like without attachment to the results. Nishkam Karma. And then Jahi Swa Swatram, kill your enemy. Like Krishna tells Arjuna that these doubts that have come upon you, kill them and proceed in the path. So Vritrasur was created as Indra Shatru, the enemy of Indra. So that was his destiny. Right? He was bound by the Yajnavakya. So when the Yajnavakya, when his creation was done, he was bound by that he would be an enemy of Indra. Indra was not created as Vritrasur Shatru. So there was no reason for Indra to consider Vritrasur as an enemy. The only reason there was enmity in Indra towards Vritrasur was the concept of Swa, the concept of mine in Indra. He becomes inimical to Vritrasur because he feels threatened by him on a personal basis. Now, Vritrasur, on the other hand, had no actual enmity to Indra. So he was seeing him just as a means to make spiritual advancement. And not just a means, you see that how compassionate a devotee is, he's also seeing him as this as an opportunity for Indra to make spiritual attachments, spiritual advancements, right? So that is the difference between the mood of Indra and Vritrasur. Yeah, verse 7. Yutsatam kutrachid atayaninam jaya sadaikatra navai paratmanam vinaikamutpati laya sihiti swaram sarvagyamadayam purusham sanatanam. Vritrasur continued, O Indra, no one is guaranteed of being always victorious, but the original enjoyer, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. He is the cause of creation, maintenance, and annihilation, and he knows everything. Being dependent and being obliged to accept material bodies, belligerent subordinates are sometimes victorious and sometimes defeated. So in 11 verses, from 7 to 17, we see that Vritrasur is going to enlighten the discouraged Indra. So after the Vajra had fallen from his hand, Indra was so bewildered by his own ego that he was unable to do his duty and was standing there fully vulnerable. So Indra was contemplating that maybe while I pick up the Vajra, Vritrasur might quickly kill me. What should I do so that my victory is assured and I avoid defeat? So Indra was so absorbed in this material duality that he was paralyzed into inaction. We see that he's just standing there, not doing anything. Vritrasur is, however, seeing the battle as a desire of Krishna. He is seeing Indra as a fellow devotee. And in a mood of compassion, he is encouraging Indra not to falter in his service, not to be too absorbed in the outcome. Right? So this is the instruction of Vritrasur to Indra. Right? And Vritrasur says, Indra, victory and defeat come on their own. At time one may win, and at other times one may lose. And Indra says, but history will bear testimony to the fact that I have always won against the demons. And Vitrasur says, only the Supreme Lord is always victorious. Those who are materially conditioned experience both victory and loss. So the point that Vitrasur is making over here comes in the category of Jnana Ashrit Nishkam Karma. Right? So this is what Krishna speaks in the second chapter before he begins to speak about Bhakti. So he speaks about Sakam Karma, then he speaks about Nishkam Karma, and then he speaks about Jnana Ashrit Nishkam Karma. They're from Atma Gyan, that knowing that you are the soul and not the body, be detached from the results. So Vritrasur is at an superficial level is preaching Jnana Ashrit Nishkam Karma, saying that victory and defeat come on their own accord. Right? No one in this material world is guaranteed victory all the time. Everybody will experience victory and defeat. So you don't worry about it. You do your duty. So this is Jnana Ashrit Nishkam Karma. Vishwanath Chakravarti further says that at a deeper level, Vitrasur is preaching Bhakti to him. Right? So if you look at this verse at a deeper level, Vritrasur is saying that for persons holding weapons, there is never victory over enemies, or even victory against one enemy, ekatra. Though you are always victorious over demons, you are not victorious over me. So Indra says that, but if I kill you, then I will be victorious for sure. So Vritrasur says that since I am fully dependent on the Lord, whether I live or I die, I will still be victorious. If I kill you and live, I will be victorious. If you kill me, you will not be victorious. Because people like you are not dependent on the Lord, but on Paratmana. Paratmana means on somebody else. So Indra says, but I've always won in the battles with the demons. And Vitrasur says that Jaya Sada Ekatra Navai. Only the Lord is always victorious. Victory for the Jiva is not conditioned. So Vishwanath Chakravarti says that Indra might say that, but Arjun was always victorious. And Vitrasur says that you are not Arjun. You cannot have victory like Arjun because unlike you, Arjun was always fully dependent on Krishna. Right? So two ways that this conversation unfolds in the verse. One is saying that be detached from the results and do your duty, right? And the second, which is in this conversation, is talking about the more esoteric aspect of bhakti, that only the Lord is fully victorious and nobody else can claim victory all the time, right? So The point that Vritrasura is making to Indra is that of Shuddha Bhakti. Indra is confusing material victory with spiritual advancement. In Indra's mind, that only if he wins will he consider himself to be a recipient of the mercy of the Lord. Vritrasura is saying that winning or losing in the battle does not mean anything. So what is relevant? Relevant is acting according to the desire of Krishna. Right? So Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur nicely he lays down two aspects of this verse. One is how to make advancement in bhakti by understanding the will of the Lord and acting according to it. And what is the mood of one who is not a pure devotee, who would confuse the material endeavor with spiritual advancements. And this actually is a recurring theme in the Vritrasura pastime, because Vritrasura, as I mentioned last time, he represents this tension between material and spiritual aspects. So generally devotees are in the mode of goodness, so there's some amount of resonance that they're in the mode of goodness and they're executing bhakti. So the tension is weakened, even though it is still there. Like, especially advanced devotees, you see the gopis are leaving their husband. So it's, in a way, materially it's not recommended, but different, very, very advanced devotees, typically there is alignment between sattva and Shuddha sattva. But this pastime, it shows the what happens when there is a misalignment. Vritrasura is an asura, mode of passion and ignorance, but a pure devotee at the same time. And Indra, he is receiving the mercy of Krishna, but nevertheless a mixed devotee. Right? So that's why the acharyas have repeatedly commented on bringing this material and spiritual aspect of practicing devotees. Prabhupada says that Vritrasura encouraged Indra, saying, "Do not be morose because of my victory. There is no need to stop fighting. Instead, you should go on with your duty. When Krishna desires, you will certainly be victorious." And Prabhupada talks about both the things. Right? You should go on with your duty, and when Krishna desires. Right? First is similarly Nishkam Karma, and the second is Bhakti Ashrit Nishkam Karma. And then Prabhupada says this verse is very instructive for sincere workers in Krishna consciousness movement. We should not be jubilant in victory or morose in defeat. We should make a sincere effort to implement the will of Krishna, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we should not be concerned with victory and defeat. Our only duty is to work sincerely so that our activities may be recognized by Krishna. So this statement essentially summarizes the message of Vritrasura's pastime. Okay, let's go to the next verse 8. Loka sapalayasya me swasanti vivasavase dujaiva secha baddha sakaliha karanam. All living beings in all the planets of the universe, including the presiding deities of all the planets, are fully under the control of the Lord. They work like birds caught in a net who cannot move independently. Right? So everyone is in the control of karma, whose influence is experienced over time. The Prabhupada writes that the difference between the suras and the asuras is that the suras know that nothing can happen without the desire of the Lord, whereas the asuras cannot understand the supreme will of the Lord. In this fight, Vritrasura is actually the sura, whereas Indra is the asura. No one can act independently. Rather, everyone acts under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, victory and defeat come according to the result of one's karma, and the judgment is given by the Supreme Lord. Karmana Deva Nitrana. Since we act under the control of the Supreme according to our karma, no one is independent. As Prabhupada is talking about two ways that we act under the control of the Supreme. One is through the law of karma, and this is for those who are not devotees. And the second is by aligning themselves to the desire of Krishna. So whether we like it or not, we are acting according to the desire of Krishna, but it is much more glorious to act according to the will of Krishna. And Prabhupada said that is the difference between the suras and asuras. Verse 9. Ojasaho balam pranam amritam mrityumeva cha tam agyaye jano hetam atmanam manyate jadam. Our sensory prowess, mental power, bodily strength, living force, immortality, and mortality are all subject to the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not knowing this, foolish people think the dull material body to be the cause of their activities. Right? So, not knowing that all that they have is given by the Lord, Lord Vitra's would say the foolish people think that it is actually the dull material body. So, in terms of the causality of action, I think one of the most illustrating conversation, it happens between Parikshit Maharaj and Dharma in the form of bull. Right? This happens in the first canto, 17th chapter, where Parikshit Maharaj asks the bull that's being beaten by Kali personified, that who is the cause of your suffering? And what does Dharma say? That we are confused by the different philosophers. Right? And then he gives 4 possible causes. Right? So he says that Vikalp Vasana. The Vikalp Vasana is that the self, Atma, is the cause of all suffering. Right? This is the philosophy of the impersonalists. Right? They say that the mind or the free will is the cause of all suffering. Then Dharma says Daivam. So Daivam is those who are demigod worshippers, and they say that the cause of our enjoyment and suffering are the devas who control the planets. Then there is karma. These are the Mimamshakas, and they say that our own activity is the cause of our suffering. Then the 4th is the Swabhavam. So the Swabhavam is, they're saying that that the material nature or the inherent property of matter is the cause of suffering. Right? And under the Swabhavam, there are 2 subcategories. There is the Prakriti. So these are the Sankhyaites, the atheistic Kapila, and they say that the material cause is the cause of all causes. And then others say that it is matter. So this is Nyaya of Gautam Rishi and Vaisheshika's Kannada Rishis, Vaisheshika, which says that the atomic combination is the cause of all the couplings, right? So the point that is made over here is that different philosophies attribute different causes for action. When Parikshit Maharaj was defenseless as an embryo in the womb of Uttara, Krishna protected him from the Brahmastra, and the Brahmastra is supposed to be infallible. Yet, the same Parikshit Maharaj was not protected from the wrath of an immature Brahman boy. And so, compared to Brahmastra, the curse of the Brahman boy was considered to be relatively minor, because the Brahman boy was immature, right? So, but Krishna does not protect Parikshit Maharaj. So, for a Kshatriya, death is glorious in the battlefield, and for a devotee, nothing is more inglorious than dying by the curse of the Brahman. So, from Parikshit Maharaj's perspective, it would have been much better for him to have been killed by the Brahmastra, even though he was not fighting. But still, it's a Kshatriya weapon thrown by another Kshatriya. Ashwatthama is a Brahman, but playing the role of a Kshatriya. So that way, his death would have been glorious. But dying from the curse of a Brahman, that is what typically happens to the Rakshasas. So Krishna protected him in the first situation where it could have given him glory. and did not protect him from a second situation where it could have been inglorious, where it is inglorious from him. He protected him from a first situation against a weapon that is considered infallible. He did not protect him in the second situation where the weapon could have been easily reversed by Krishna. But the glory of Parikshit Maharaj is that in both the cases, he is fully surrendered to the will of the Lord. Right? So that is Parikshit Maharaj's qualification of why he is called the Mahabhagavat. Even when he was in the womb, he witnessed Lord Vishnu there fighting the Brahmastra. Right? And that's why he got the name Parikshit, right? Because he was constantly examining to see the same Lord everywhere else. And later on, he also witnesses how the Lord is passive when he's dying an inglorious death. But in both cases, his meditation was how to serve the Lord. And similarly, we see that Prithu Maharaj, he did 99 sacrifices. He could not do the 100th because Indra kept unauthorized ways, he was stopping it. Then Brahma comes and preaches to Prithu Maharaj. He actually tells Prithu Maharaj, don't be envious of Indra. Now, somebody else at that time would have been like, Brahma, this is not fair. That I am doing my duty as an emperor performing the Ashwamedha Yagyas. It's Indra who's stealing the horse, pretending to be a holy man, a sannyasi, and all that. And you're asking me not to be envious. But Prithu Maharaj, he accepts the instructions of Brahma with grace. And the acharyas say that actually Prithu Maharaj completed his 100 sacrifices. His 100th sacrifice was that he sacrificed any vestige of false ego, which was greater than all the other 99 yagyas combined. And this sacrifice was beyond the ability of Indra to stop. And this is what makes Prithu Maharaj a much more exalted personality. Even though Indra retained that title of being Shatyagya, being one who has performed 100 sacrifices, but it is Prithu Maharaj who is glorified as a greater devotee. So this accepting the illogical desires of Krishna is what makes the devotees great. When Parikshit Maharaj accepted the desire of Krishna, when Prithu Maharaj accepted the desire, that is what makes them famous for greatness and perfects their life. Vritrasur is similarly accepting the will of the Lord. Even though he was a great devotee, he was forced to take the body of a demon. His death is not even at the hand of the Lord. So Lord does not personally come. You remember Indra went to Lord and said, please come and kill Vritrasur. And Lord said, you kill her, right? So the Lord is not even giving him that glory of being killed by his Lord, like Hiranyaksh and Hiranyakashipu and Ravan and Kumbhakaran. He is sending Indra, a mixed devotee, a devotee who is much, so to speak, junior than Vritrasur. But Vritrasur is not bewildered by all that. His mood is always fixed. Like, what is it that my Lord wants me to do, and how should I execute it? Everything else is secondary. So the pure devotees are always dependent on Krishna. The dependence of a mixed devotee of Krishna is circumstantial. Right? So when circumstances are in one way, they show greater dependence, and when they go other way, they may show lesser dependence. Right? Indra is thinking that I am the doer. By my Vajra, I may or may not be able to kill Vritrasur. This victory or this defeat will be mine. And that is Indra's mood. Vritrasur is challenging this conception of Indra and saying, don't think like that. The victory and defeat is not yours. It is always the Lord. And don't be bewildered in your service to the Lord. Transcend the moods. So Vritrasur is trying to bring him to the platform of Shuddha Sattva. Okay, so I'll pause over here and see if there's any discussions.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. It's amazing to see how Rasasura is like the role is reversed. Instead of a demigod giving advice, now it's an Asura that is giving advice. And then also when you say that when the Vajra fall down, normally it's a very inauspicious sign for Indra. And now it's again Rasasura that is telling him to pick it up and
Yes, you're right. And actually, eventually Indra will acknowledge the position of Vritrasur. You will see that eventually all the preaching of Vritrasur comes to fruition, and Indra acknowledges him that you are a great devotee. I acknowledge what you say, and then proceeds to kill him because that's what he understands as the Lord's desire. Yeah.
just one, yesterday we went to watch this film, Lashingadev, that just came out. When you were talking about this, I was imagining if they do a film like that, what will be because Vishwasura also is a very big, gigantic asura. It would be like a lot of motion and commotion in this.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Just a reflection. As we do as a sadhaka, our own sadhana, just to reflect on our own sadhana, we are holding the Vajra, but at what percentage we are having the doubts of its power? Like similar to the Vajra, what we have, what Indra had.
True. I think sometimes we hold it stronger, and sometimes we drop it. That's the difference between Indra and Vritrasur. Vritrasur doesn't have the Vajra, but he's constantly meditating on the service to the Lord. And Lord Vishnu was especially kind to Indra. He said, "Hold this. This is my symbol." Right? So I was hearing a lecture where it said that the Lord has given us the holy name. That's a Vajra. Chant this, and that's a protection. And sometimes we hold to it strongly, sometimes we drop it. Yeah.
So the second thing is like contemplating on how a advanced or a pure devotee takes versus any conditioned devotee, where we do expect a pure devotee to see everything as a Krishna's plan. How he serves despite facing any severe pain or any obstacles in the service, right? As Indra, if we can see, we do have some kind of angers coming in, ego, or many obstacles.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Prabhu. Okay, there's no more questions. We'll end here. Panchakalpatarubhya Shukapa Sindhubhya Vacha Padidhanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Anand Kori Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nidai Gaur Premanand Hare Krishna. Thank you.